man, how you going? And hey, everyone else out there well, YouTube land, I suppose. My camera's a little dark today. I wonder why that is. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm just gonna see if I. Whoa, sorry, my phone is going off.
Hey, everyone else out there
I had to open the thing to get my information, but it's good to know that YouTube is in fact working. So that's always a positive. No, not that one. This one. Thank you. Where is properties there? Oh, that is weird. Okay, so if I say turn this and that, alright. I don't know why that's so dark. Is that dark on me? Oh, there we go. That's a bit better. I don't know why it was like so goddamn dark, but now it is because my shadow's in the way. That's much better. Yeah. Maybe it's just that it's not as sunny today. I am? Are you sure? Because I almost deafened myself on my own phone. Sorry, I've also just got to change this chat box because the writing's very small in it for some reason. I would have thought it would have kept my settings from my other account. Well, that's really weird because I had my phone. I almost deafened myself. I don't know how to fix that, honestly, because on my end I'm fine. So let me just.
And hey, everyone else out there well, YouTube land, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let me know if that makes any change, because on my end I sound fine. Sorry guys, I will try to. The problem is my chat window is like really small, so I can barely read the chat. Okay, interesting. Okay, I can't seem to change the size of my YouTube chat, which means it's very small. So I might have to lean in to read, guys. Sorry. That is really weird because Twitch has the option that I can, change the font size. Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I honestly don't know. As I said, on my phone I sound fine. If anything, I sound a little loud. I need a third person. I need someone else to jump in and see if I sound quiet on their end. I've put it on my phone and it sounds fine. Oh, you mean on the phone? Yeah. No, I don't know. Like, I need a third person to come along and tell me if I've got sound issues or not. Where was I? So we're gonna paint my leader, and we're gonna paint my leader's probably pretty table ready at this point, but yeah. think I was using maybe this one. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, it's all right. I'll just lean in whenever I see someone chatting. Anyway, we're going to paint these guys, so I'm not sure if you can see him in the background, but yeah, I want to finish this guy. I do think he looks pretty cool, but I'm going to do him a little bit fancier since he's the leader. So first things first, let's get this yellow up and running down the bottom here, because right now it's orange. Blobbed a little bit too much there. I mean, not blobbed, but I accidentally went into the purple. I'm still getting used to, painting in front of the camera. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. We might have to do a test later when you get home. See what's going on with your phone. Okie dokie. I'm thinking I might actually change these to like gold, like little gold buttons, I reckon. The rest of it's fine. Where should I start? Where do I start? I'm just trying to think of what I want to do here. Oh, I need to do some more accenting on the gun here. You can barely tell I've done anything. Ooh, a little bit too much. Okay, not too shabby. I'm just having a quick sticky beak. Oh, I like to do this area yellow as well, actually. This little area just around the end of the gun. So yeah, guys, you may have noticed that my YouTube video is out. I got it done last night. I wasn't actually planning to get the whole thing done, but I did. So that was good. I was very happy that I got that finished. And yeah, I just I think that was it was a video that I just wanted to get done and dusted, and now we can move on to positive shit. I'm hoping that I won't have to make another why I don't support video again. That would be fantastic. But whether or not, gaming companies will stick to that or not, that's another thing entirely. But yeah, so I'm hoping that this video does well. I already got a comment from a person I don't know, so that's always a positive. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I mean, you can make an alternate account that just has, like, you can just call yourself Lady Vamps or something. That also works. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I think let's start blue. Let's go blue. So I like this blue. It's sort of like the highlight as the layer. Sorry. We're not going to go too fancy on the power suits, but I want to do a nice job on this dude. Oh no, so like, because I have two YouTube accounts and they're linked together. I've got Count Vamps, which is obvious this one, and then I've got one that's just my name that I don't have. It's just an alternate name account basically. I mean, it has all its own stuff, so you'll have to resubscribe to everything and all that kind of crap. But you know, actually, you know what? This is pretty close, actually. Like color-wise, I mean. As in, it's not making much difference. So, obviously, I might have already done this particular step. I can do it on the gun, though, at least, to get that a little bit more noticeable. Yeah, just get the gun a bit more noticeable overall. There you can see the backs of my models. I generally don't show them off often. They're only really seen if you're on the tabletop, basically. Oh, cool. Okay, so I kind of want to go up a level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a rather light color and I'm going to add it in with this color. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, you should be able to do that, right? I don't know. It's up to you, really. Okay. Let's see what we can get done here, shall we? Just gonna get some edge highlights getting in. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, you're already that name on what's it called, Instagram anyway, and Threads. So just gonna take a little bit off the edge there, I think. Yeah, that looks good. And we'll just get a little bit on the shoe here. Sorry guys, I just need to be able to actually sort of see what I'm doing here so I don't over highlight this. Okay, fair enough. I think you can change your account name though. On YouTube, I mean. Sorry guys, I swear I'm not trying to pick the mini up to, but you know, it's sort of like I gotta sometimes get a decent look. So I reckon maybe about here. So if I go from thumb down, 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 down. Yeah, that's looking good. Thumb. And then we got yeah, fingies here. Then I'll do the back here. Once again, I'm just gonna gently sort of
get these sort of fingers going, and then a bit of an edge highlight here, and then probably just a bit of an edge highlight, sort of just around the general area. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Okay, shoulder pads. These are pretty straightforward, just nice and easy. Just gonna do some edge highlighting here. And a bit of edge highlighting on this one too. Get these edges going. Oh. This edge up here. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. But yeah, so next video, Gaslands, that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to try and get some games in this week with the kiddo. Why is that not really coming on? Sorry, 2 seconds, guys. Oh, no, it is. There goes my light again. Okay, and then I'm just gonna get this other hand. So I think if we do this, get the thumb a bit going here. Yep. Then we get each individual finger. Just so let's get the old. These things are lifesavers. Honestly, they really are. Because it's just, boom, I can zoom right in on what I need to get done. Thank you, back area. Ooh. There we go. As I say, the blue's now got a bit of a pop to it. I'm just gonna finish this blue up on the gun. Actually, I'm gonna give him a little bit more on his hand here. I want this area to sort of, yeah, that's a bit better. Yeah, that's much nicer. Alright, cool. Oh, better do his backpack area, actually. Let's get that sorted. Sorry, I'm a little bit off center. My apologies, guys. It's really funny, because now I feel like I should pull this over to here. I feel like I keep... Oh, no, not that. Well, sorry, guys. Wrong one. This one. Pull this over to here. Maybe I'm taking up too much space here. What if I sort of do that? Yeah, that's better. Okay, where am I? Ah, yes, the gun. Alright, so we're just gonna
I'm just going to highlight this area down here a little bit. Yep. And then we're going to sort of get the sides here. So, bit of an edge highlight here. Yep. And I'm just going to gently sort of come in and just highlight these little areas here. You don't have a lot of space to sort of work with on this one. Yeah, like that. I haven't actually managed to paint all week this week, guys. But to be completely honest, I took a break. The painting comp from last month just zonked me. Oh, hey, me. That's an interesting one. That's a new one. I'll give it that. Is that you, honey bun? Are you trolling as me? I reckon we might go purple next, and then I'll do the metal. I reckon. Oh, I haven't done the belt. What is my problem here? Give me an orange. Go from there. It's Daria. Okay, fair enough. Oop, a little bit too much orange there. Actually, that orange is not the color I want. That's a little bit too... okay, no worries. I mean, if they want, they can change the account name. I don't mind. Hey, Dario. I hope you're having a good day anyway. Just getting in, doing this particular little... Just getting the belt painted here. I didn't realize I'd missed the belt. Sorry guys, I just need to be very accurate with this because the belt is obviously in between a lot of stuff. Whoop. Went for a little bit of a spin then. As you can see, the blue now pops like way more. The yellow's still fairly yellow, so actually I had to go do the backpack. Yeah, that sounds about right. Also, holy shit, I have shit my pants. That scared the crap out of me. Not really, guys. It's a joke. It's a joke. Okay, and then we just sort of really just sort of edge highlight back here. This one is fairly difficult because there's a lot of edges, but you know, just gonna try my best. See how I go. Yeah, that looks alright. It's not amazing, but it'll do the job. Alright, now that we've done that, let's get onto the purple. Now, it looks like I've used my regular sort of purple. So what I might do is we might hit... You know, I'm actually... I'm on the fence on whether or not I should try a particular something that I've seen pop up a bit.
which is you kind of use a sort of a bit of a wetter paint, but you do it like in a real pinkish color. Let's give it a whirl. Because, you know, screw it, like, right? Like, may as well try this new stuff. And the thing is if I don't like the look of it, you know, well, I just move on. That's a miniature. If you thin your paints enough, you can pretty much, you know, sort of get away with whatever. So let's see. So I've really sort of thinned this paint, and we're just gonna. It's gonna really sort of. Sorry guys, I will put the miniature back down, I promise. Okay, I'm not quite sure how I feel about this approach. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit on the fence about it. I'm gonna, you know, we'll do a bit of an experiment here. Let's wash it. Let's see what happens if I give this a wash now. We won't really get to see the full effect of that until until the wash dries. I mean, it looks interesting. Whether or not it ends up interesting, that's the question. Alright, well, while that's working, work in itself. I'm going to finish this belt. Let's get that done first. But I wanted to experiment. I've seen this technique used. It could just be a case of practicing more. I've never been overly happy with how my cloaks end up looking. I don't know what it is about it. As I said, I've never been overly happy with them. I can't really put it into words. Something always looks a little off about them. It is probably one of the areas in pain where I just feel like I reckon that what I need to do is I just need to print a whole bunch of cloaks, people with cloaks, and just practice. If I print 20 dudes who all have cloaks and just keep painting them until they look good, you know, like $2 worth of pla, and just paint them until they look half decent, I might end up actually, you know, getting really good at painting cloaks and stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna do a couple of these buttons. I think gold. Alright, anyway, guys, since we've sort of hit a point in the video now, I was thinking, what if I tell another war story, eh? You know, sorry. Let's pop him back into frame at least so you can have a look at him. Because I thought that could be fun, you know. And then I do a practice run, get the war story in place, remember some details hopefully, and have a more smooth experience of telling it. Okay, just getting this done. So, this war story that I'm going to tell today is basically why... and feel free to interrupt me, by the way. If you want to have a chat, that's fine. Don't mind. This is just something to sort of practice at in the downtime, and, you know, any lurkers and stuff might enjoy, like, just listening to it while I paint. Yeah, I'm quite happy. I might do this middle section as well. I just feel like this sort of area as gold would look cool, so I'm going to do that too. Just to sort of give it a little bit of a mystique. Anyway, the story. Alright, so this was back when Warhammer Fantasy was still around. And basically what ended up happening is I was playing vampire counts at the time, which I really enjoyed my vampire counts. They were lots of fun. Anyway, what ended up happening was I'd had a very successful career as my vampire counts. I hadn't actually lost a game at this point in the story. And so anyway... But the big advantage I'd had is that I never really fought anyone who was super duper effective against my vampire counts. So for those of you who don't know, vampire counts have an ability called Fear. That's their main gimmick. Other things can have Fear, and then there's a one above that called Terror, which vampires had. And basically, what ended up happening is that Fear is really good at winning fights, and if you win a fight and you're causing fear on your opponent, they break immediately and run away. It's really, really effective at what it does. So I really enjoyed that, and I'd fought mostly armies that had effects that didn't go well with fear, basically. So I'd fought elves, dark elves. I'd fought Empire. I'd fought Lizardmen. I'd fought Skaven. And I'd beat them all. All these guys had the same problem. Once I got into combat, and I did my famous hammer and anvil strategy, which is a bit different when you're an undead army, because what you do is you summon skeletons behind them. So you make your own hammer, basically. And then you win the combat and you force them to run. It was great. I loved doing it. It was very effective. So anyway, I'm sitting in our local store with a wargaming buddy of mine, who I knew reasonably well, but we weren't really friends. We were wargaming buddies. So we happened to meet there after school. And we were chatting about just sort of games in general. Like just, oh yeah, well. And so anyway, he just recently started playing Warhammer Fantasy as Empire. And he turns to me and he's like, man, your vampire counts are so good. How you going with them? I'm like, well, I'm up to game 27 and I still haven't lost a game with them. Don't get me wrong, I'd lost Warhammer games before, but in particular, these guys were just kicking ass. I couldn't have asked for a much better army. And to be completely honest, being a 15-year-old, you're a bit braggadocious, right? Like you're like, yeah, I kicked everyone's ass. I haven't had a challenge yet, and it was true. I really hadn't run into anyone who was a serious challenge. One of my buddies also played Vampire Counts, and he was the most challenge I'd gotten. But see, I was a Skelly boy, and he was a zombie man, and zombies just weren't very good in that edition of Warhammer Fantasy. I never really understood why he just didn't sort of focus on like actually making a really good army, but he really liked zombies and ghouls and stuff like that. So I was like a skeleton, grave guards, that kind of stuff. And he also played the vampire faction that was they were mostly focused around wizardry, and I played the Von Carsteins, who were like, they were sort of like the catch-all vampire faction. They did a bit of magic, they did a bit of combat, and they were very good at both those things too. So don't think that was like, oh man, these guys are crap. These guys are just jack of all trades. It was more like they were to use a term, to use a poker term, they were more like kings of all trades. Just below aces, but not at ace level. So the other vampire factions all sort of specialized in one particular thing. Well, actually, no, there are only really two factions that properly specialized, and that was Blood Dragons, who were all insanely good at close combat, but terrible at magic. Absolutely horrendous. And then, what were they called? I'll look this up for the actual video, but there's basically a wizard vampire faction, who were still dangerous at fighting for most armies, but just weren't very good at actual fight. Yeah, no, I don't like that. Now looking at it, it's alright. It was worth a shot. This one. Yeah, so it was basically they weren't very good at fighting. So what ended up happening is that my better army got in contact with his army via vampire counts, got into close combat and fought him. Because at the end of the day, Warhammer Fantasy was a medieval battle simulator, basically. So eventually you guys had to touch base and they had to fight. So anyway, I'm standing at the counter with my friend and he's like, yeah, man, you're just doing so well with them lately. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm settling accounts, basically. So anyway, one of the guys who ran the counter at the store, who we'll call Jake, I reckon. So Jake was a pretty cool guy. I liked him. I think he found me annoying, which is fair enough. I was 15, he was not. But I always thought we were pretty, we got along pretty well. But looking back on it, I'm thinking that may not have been the case. But you take what you get, right? Anyway, Jake and me had played Magic a fair few times together, but I didn't even know we played Warhammer, honestly. So he was like, oh, he's like, vampire counts aren't even that good. And I was like, what do you mean? I haven't lost a game. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm sick of you coming in here and sort of bragging about how good your vampire counts are. And I'm like, well, I didn't really think I was doing that often, but sure. So he goes, the gaming store had just started Sunday games, basically. So you came in on a Sunday and you bought stuff. Normally they were closed, but I think it was a hope to sort of generate more revenue, basically. So Sunday games, it was Sunday games was good fun. I enjoyed it, but it didn't last very long. Probably maybe like 3 months, I'd probably say 3 or 4 months. Anyway, so he goes, come into Sunday games, and I'll challenge you with my army. And I'm like, oh, okay, no worries. And I go, what are you? And he's like, Khorne. Which are a chaos faction, for those who don't know. They're the insane berserker guys who don't feel fear. Yeah. So, I'm like, but I've already accepted the challenge, and I'm sure as hell not backing down. I mean, my guys are undefeated. And he's like, you will taste your first defeat. And to be completely fair, maybe he was right. So the game rolls around, and like the time for the game rolls around, and I'm setting up, and he's setting his guys up, and roughly the same army size. I'd done some research. I don't think Jake had, and basically in this research, I'd realized that I was gonna have to have some units that were going to deal damage. Now, I used Graveguard and Black Knight anyway, but I took 2 larger units of them than I normally did, and I took 1 less unit of skeletons. So I had 2 units of skeletons, 2 units of direwolves, the smallest I get with direwolves. My plan with them was just to have them hold things up. So 2 units of direwolves, and then I had the Graveguard and the Black Knights, which are basically just superpowered skeletons, for those of you who might not know. So I had my superpowered skeletons that all had magic weapons. They weren't the greatest units ever. Their stack block looked horrible, but they came with 2 advantages. One, which I'll get into later, but the other one was they all had magic weapons. The reason I'll get into it later is because I want to, leave an air of mystery about it. So, anyway, so I'm sitting there, and I've got my guys. Oh, I also had a vampire, 2 necromancers, and what was called a White Lord, which a White Lord was basically a Graveguard, just a really, really strong Graveguard. But otherwise, they were basically a hero Graveguard. Now, he had a unit of cultists, which I really was not concerned about, just for the record. Yeah, the unit of cultists, which are like the shittest things ever, they're not even immune to fear. Khorne cultists aren't even immune to fear. But he had 2 units of Khorne berserkers, which were terrifying to me, because he just, they're immune to fear. Now, just because they're immune to fear doesn't mean they can't lose combat and run away, but it means that because they're immune to fear, they don't instantly lose combat and run away. When they lose combat, they don't instantly run away. They roll for it, and they got quite high leadership. This was the concern, basically. I knew I'd have to fight them, not make them run. And then he also had some Chaos Knights and a group of I think they're called Bloodletters, which are like the Khorne sort of just regular demon guys. Now they start off the field, they get summoned in, basically. And then he also had, I believe he had a sorcerer in his cultist unit. It was pretty weak. And then he had Chaos Lord in one of his berserker units, and a Chaos Lord in his knights. So Chaos Knights, they're on horses. These particular Chaos Knights are on horses. So when I say Chaos Knights, I mean horse guys. So just like Black Knights, they're on horses too. Obviously dead ones, but they're on them. So anyway, we set up the table. Everything's good. We set up our guys, and basically the way I had it set up is my left flank had both my units of skeletons, middle was Graveguard, and then I also had my Black Knights on my right flank, and then on my right flank I also had a unit of Direwolves, and I'm like behind my first group of skeletons on the left I had a unit of Direwolves too. The idea being is that hopefully they can help flank the Khorne Berserkers and maybe we can get an early win. I was not expecting that, but you know. And then on his opposite from me, he had his 2 units of Berserkers facing my skeletons. I was like, ugh. And then he had his cultists facing my Graveguard, which I always found weird. Like, when I think back on this game, I always go, why did he do that? And the only solution I have to the reason why he did that was, I think he, like, as I said, the Graveguard stat block was not good. So I feel that maybe, just maybe, he might have gone, they can probably hold Graveguard off for a couple turns. But, you know, that's not really here or there. I don't know what he was thinking at the time. And honestly, I was nervous. I was like, I think this is going to be my first loss. And, you know, maybe 9 times out of 10, it was going to be. Maybe I just needed the devil's luck, right? Just for the record, I got reasonably average luck in this game. I had a couple of lucky moments, but otherwise the luck was pretty average. So anyway, we start off and we move our guys forward, and you know, for the first turn, it's just moving guys. I cast a couple spells. I killed a couple of Khorne Berserkers in each squad with Gaze and Nagash, and I killed I killed a decently large amount of group of cultists with my vampires, Gaze and Nagash. So basically, they just shoot eye beams at people. That's it. Turn 2 is where it started getting a bit crazy. So turn 2, we're in combat range, right? So I look at the board and I'm like, he's gonna charge most of my units. That's just how it's gonna go. And I'm like, but it's looking like if he positions them poorly, I'll be able to charge his knights with my Black Knights. Now I believe he'd won initiative for the game, so he was moving first. So he moves his guys in. His Berserkers get my skeletons, like they touch them. His cultists charge into my Graveguard, and he positions his Chaos Knights poorly to charge into the side of my guys next turn, like my Graveguard, which I don't want to have happen. So yeah, so he sort of positioned himself, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, geez, what should I sort of do here? And I'm just gonna hit these sort of cloth areas with some yellow. Yeah, so I sit there and I'm like, geez, what am I gonna do? But as I said, I'm looking around and then I notice, his knights are now in range of my Black Knights and in range of the unit of Direwolves I've got over there. And I'm thinking, this might be a chance. So anyway, my turn rolls around. I charge the first unit of Direwolves into the side of his Berserkers, and then I take the second unit and I do the most insane thing you could possibly do with Direwolves, and I charge them front into his knights. Now they're pretty much. I'm like, these guys are dead. There's no way that's happening. There's no way that's not happening. But I charge my Black Knights into their flank. So I've got an advantage now, and I'm hoping that maybe if I get lucky, I might be able to kill a few Chaos Knights. Now the other thing is because this is a rank game, as in like it's rank and file. Basically, some of the best weapons in the game are spears. Why? Because the two front ranks can attack instead of just the front rank. Now, the thing with Khorne armies is they don't really use spears, but they get a lot of attacks to trade that off, so they end up coming out even. But the problem was, sorry, excuse me. The problem is that when my Black Knights charged in, they were getting all their attacks. His attacks back were not good. He's gonna get 4 to my 10, and plus my Right Lord. So anyway, I end up I'm just sort of like, yeah. So I've charged that in. We've got all this stuff going on, and I say to Jay, okay, how are you doing this? Because basically you do charges first. So he had the most charges. I just let him pick. And of course he went, well, let's do them in order. So first things first, you can start off with something called a challenge. So a leader of a squad, a captain or whatever, can challenge another character. So he's got a Khorne Berserker captain in the first squad. So he's not great, but he's certainly a lot stronger than a Necromancer. And so he challenges. And that Necromancer hadn't actually cast any spells this turn. Oh, sorry, I'd also started the Anvil and Hammer thing. So I had units charging to the back. But I didn't do it for the far left group on the first turn because I had the Wolves instead. So I also had a plan. I had a bit of a plot going. So vampires and necromancers work with death magic. They work with vampire magic. Sorry, my apologies. So vampire magic has special little spells. You can only get it if you are a vampire count player. So basically, I think you can also get a variation if you're Tomb Kings. So what ends up happening is you can raise the dead, you got Gaze Nagash and a whole bunch of other stuff. But there's one spell in particular that many people underestimated, and I caught a lot of people out with it, and it's called Finger of Death. Finger of Death is super easy. It can only be used in close combat. You only get one attack, but if it hits and they fail their invulnerable save, they die. They just drop dead immediately. Doesn't matter if they've got 1 wound or 300 wounds. They die immediately. It's just boom, dead. The problem is that it's hard to cast. It's rare. I think you need... I feel like you need a 10 or an 11 on 2d6. And it's a rare spell to go off, and also you don't really want to use it on your vampire because your vampire is normally damn near a guaranteed kill anyway. But I was like, well, you know what? Screw it, right? I'm gonna go for it. Finger of Death strats. So I accepted the challenge, and by rights, basically, my guy should have got chopped into confetti. But I say I'm going to cast a spell, and spells go first. Spells get priority. So I'm like, we haven't actually done any combat yet. I'm going to cast a spell before the combat phase. No. So in a challenge, you can cast spells. Spells go first. Spells always go first. So anyway, we sort of line up. He's like, yep, go on, cast your spell. And I got it. I rolled an 11. And he's like, oh. I'm like, oh, geez, that's pretty good. And I'm like, does your guy have an invulnerable save? And he's like, no, he's just a random captain in the Khorne army. And I'm like, well, he's dead then. Now you might think, well, if he's only got 1 or 2 wounds anyway, Vamps, why didn't you just do it? This guy would have absolutely murked my Necromancer in close combat. Even if I'd managed to hit him, I don't think I would have actually killed him. My Necromancer had no special weapons. He had nothing. He was just a random freaking dude. So what ended up happening is that my guy just boom, touches the Khorne Berserker captain and he dies. which means I won. And when you win a challenge combat, you get a pretty big boost to your score. So anyway, then the normal combat plays out, and he wins. Like, he basically butchered the direwolves pretty effectively. I think there was like one left, and he did a bit of damage to my skellies as well. So, and then leadership happened. So he won the combat by about a point, I think, once you sort of varied everything out. Now, normally what this means is you take a leadership check, and you know, you guys run or they stay. It really doesn't matter. But in the undead army, it works slightly different. See, undead don't run. They're undead. They have no concept of like living through a battle. So what happens is that when undead lose combats, they don't roll for leadership. They just lose the amount of units that they lose the amount of models that they lost the combat by. So for example, if I lose combat by two skeletons just drop dead. That's it. You may think, oh, that seems a bit harsh. And it's like, not really actually, funnily enough. It's really not that bad of a trade-off. Because the thing is generally against most armies, when you win, they run away and they die. You just got to catch them. And the thing is that the way you catch it is when they flee, when they leave combat and they run away, they roll 2d6 and they move that far away. And now skeletons and that are slow. They're not quick people. But when they pursue, they roll the same dice. And you only have to catch them, which means if they roll an 8, you only have to roll an 8. It really actually ends up just sort of falling in your favor a lot of the time. And if they don't, and they're not as big a threat anymore if they're running away. So, and then the next combat plays out, and I've got the rear, and he decides that he's going to get rid of the rear skeletons first, which he basically does. he hacks them up pretty effectively. He hacks the other skeletons up pretty effectively. Now, this is the one with the Chaos Lord, and he challenges my Necromancer, and you can opt out of a challenge, and your unit must be placed at the back of the unit. This is not a big deal for a Necromancer. He's going to stand back and cast magic anyway, so I just moved him to the back, and I think I lose 4 or 5 skeletons out of the main pack. What do you do, basically? And then the next combat is his cultists versus my leader. I don't know exactly. This is where I'm like, I don't know what he was actually planning in this particular scenario. Basically, what ends up happening is he's like, okay, well, I charged into you, and this is what I'm doing, and I'm like, no worries, and he basically did nothing. Like, as in these cultists did legitimately nothing. He didn't roll very well. They didn't do a lot of damage. I was very underwhelmed, honestly. And then my guys turned around and butchered them. Now, as I said, this is the unit with my vampire. So I caused terror, which is a level above that, which basically means you have penalties in combat. So he definitely loses, and he loses significantly. And then his cultists break, and they run away, and I catch him and I kill him. That's it. And they didn't run very far either, which was kind of funny. So I was like, "Oh, what was the plan there?" He's like, "I don't know," and I'm like, I said to him, "I'm like, I told you that it was a bad move, and he's like, oh, I thought they'd hold for a couple turns. They're pretty strong for cultists, and he was not wrong. Just for the record, corn cultists are pretty strong, but they're not Graveguard strong. And he's like, I didn't think Graveguard were very good, and I'm like, well, they're a lot better than you think they are, I guess. So we've finished all his charge phase, and now it's my turn, guys. My Black Knights, they come in. Black Knights and Direwolves. Now, charges get first strike. That's how it works. But he challenges. He says, my Chaos Lord challenges your Riot Lord to combat. And I play the scenario out in my head, and I'm like, I don't actually want this Chaos Lord to be around. This is a bad guy. Now, that being said, I just want to make this completely clear, guys. His Chaos Lord will absolutely crush my White Lord in combat. It's not even going to be close. He is going to wreck this dude before he even gets the opportunity to open his bony mouth. So I accept. What? Yeah, no worries, anyone. You have a good lunch. So he goes, I go, yeah, I accept. And he's like, what? And he like starts laughing. He's like, my guy's gonna absolutely murder your dude. It's not even gonna be close. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that. In a normal combat situation, it wouldn't even be close. He's like, my guy's got 9 attacks. Yours has got, what, 3? And I'm like, yep, that is accurate. And he's like, fine, all good. He's like, you get to attack first because you charged. So I rolled my dice, hit with everything, which was good, which was crazy because, as I said, he was a much better fighter than I am. And this is back in the day where, in order to figure out if you hit or not, you compared weapon skill and then you rolled. So I rolled very well. I rolled 5s. So I hit with all my attacks, and I roll a 6. He fails his save, and he dies. He just dies immediately. Huh? How'd that happen, Bams? What do you mean he died? Okay, so this is why I didn't want to mention the Graveguard's other special ability. So Graveguard, as I said, Graveguard, Black Knights on paper, not very attractive units. But what they have is they have this ability. When they roll a 6, if you get an invulnerable save, or you instantly die. Doesn't matter what, it's basically like Finger of Death as a weapon. Graveguards and Black Knights all hold these weapons. White Lords have to buy this sort of extra upgrade. Now, this is I think it's called the Burial Blade. Now, the Burial Blade is not that good of a close combat weapon. In fact, I knew many people who questioned my sanity in taking it. As in, I had people go, "You're taking a Burial Blade," and I'd be like, "Yeah. Why? Why not take like this weapon or this weapon that just makes him a lot better? He gets extra attacks and everything." And I'm like, "Oh well, the reason why I'm taking the Burial Blade is because if I roll a 6, I kill them." And they're like, "Yes, but you have to roll a 6." I don't think people really got just how sort of common sixes are to roll in a D6 game. Like, don't get me wrong, you're not rolling them every turn, but you're rolling them, every once in a while. So, what ended up happening is I rolled a 6 and he died. He just dropped dead immediately. Basically, the description is I cut off his head. So, yeah, the Burial Blade is not a very good weapon, but on 6s, goodbye. I generally don't take it with my Vampire Lord because I just find they're strong enough already. But White Lords just aren't that great. They're cheap. They're a cheap hero unit that you use to fill space. You give them a Burial Blade, and suddenly they're a walking luck check. So that was it. I chopped the guy's head off, and Jake looked at me. Like, he looks down, he looks back, he looks at me, looks back, looks down, looks at the dice, and he goes, "Oh, shit. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. that is the word for it. And so it's really funny because he sort of sits there and he goes, like he's just sort of like stunned. And I'm like, well, we got to do the rest of the combat now. And he's like, yeah, you're right. So what ends up happening? My guys chop his dudes into confetti. Basically, at this point, I got some good hits with my Black Knights. I got a few extra sixes. So he had a unit of 10 guys. I had a unit of 10 guys, basically. So I think my Black Knights killed 6 guys, and then even my Dire Wolves got lucky and killed a couple. He rolled poorly on his saves. So they fight back. He decides to go for the Black Knights, which I actually think was somewhat of a mistake, as we'll find out later. So what ends up happening is that so his Chaos Knights have lost by a lot. So he rolls leadership. Now, as I said, Khorne armies are fearless, but that doesn't mean they can't fail leadership checks. They still have to take them. So he rolls his check, which he has to roll incredibly well because of how many guys he lost. They flee. My Black Knights chased, caught him, destroyed him. That was it. Suddenly his right flank, or his left flank actually, is looking perilous, dangerous. He is not in a good spot by any metric at this point. And so anyway, he's like, it's alright, I can still win this. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, no, that's fair. He's like, I've got my demons in reserve, which I will be bringing out. And I've got my 2 units called Berserkers, which are my dangerous units. And I'm like, okay, yes, this is a fair assessment of the situation. So anyway, next turn comes around, he summons in his demons, and they basically, like, so the way Warhammer Fantasy works is that everyone's in a regiment, except for specific units called skirmishers. So skirmishers are sort of like Warhammer 40k units in Warhammer Fantasy, and they can sort of just move whatever direction. In normal Warhammer Fantasy, you've got to kind of like, you've got to have you guys sort of, rotate and move. So in order to get my Graveguard into a good position, I need to rotate them back around to move them. So the issue with this particular scenario is that I would preferably like to move them in a certain way so that I can charge the flank of the Khorne Berserkers. So what ends up happening is that he's positioned his demons now in between my Graveguard and his Berserkers. So I know for a fact I'm going to have to rotate, and then because he can't move them on the turn he summons them in from memory. So basically what's going to happen is I'll rotate and then he'll charge in, and I'm like, ooh, I don't want that. Oh, actor! Holy shit, man! How's it going? Yeah, I mean, it's getting there. It is a bit of a stream for ants. I'm just regaling people with a story of mine. Here you go. Look, you can see my painting. Yeah, I'm small. I'm trying not to get in the way of the painting. How's things, dude? I'll just continue my story, but interrupt me when you feel like it. Yeah, so anyway, I'm like, oh shit, my guy's gonna get charged. But here's the mistake. Here's the mistake he made. So he summons in his guys. Combat, it goes as normal. I summon in more skeletons just to kind of keep the numbers up. My Graveguard position turn around. They're looking at the bloodletters, and the plan is to go through the bloodletters into the side of all the berserkers and hopefully wipe them out. Oh wow! Congrats, man. Yeah, no, that's really good. Oh yeah, things are good for me, honestly. Overall, they sort of went downhill a little bit for a while there, but we're coming around now. But yeah, work, painting, streaming. Finally got a replacement car. So all good. All good now. We're coming up good. So yeah, but overall, yeah, no problems. No problems now. Gallbladder, car destroyed, stuff like that. But hopefully that's all in the rear view now. Yeah, no, that's awesome. That your little kid's coming along. So I almost said little man, but well, I did say little man, but I just realized it's like, let's go, little kid. yeah, it's a good car too, so I'm very happy it's there. But yeah, the old one, I wasn't very happy what happened to the old one though. That being said, come on, and focus. Yeah, the family's good overall. Kid Vamps is now awesome, cool. I covered it. Yeah, I thought it was, and then I was like, oh shit, what if I'm wrong? And I've just anyway Kid Vamps is now in grade 2. He's 7. He's coming up 8 this year. So there we go. That's a little bit better. So that's pretty crazy. Seems like he was just a tiny person just a couple of years ago, which he kind of was, really. So no worries, yeah, fair enough. Lady Vamps is working now, which is pretty cool. She really likes her job. So that's always a positive. And just everyone else is sort of just doing pretty well. I mean, in the extended family, my mum's got a job now, so that's interesting. Yeah, he wasn't active, man. He wasn't. He was still in nappies. He could barely talk. Now that's all he does. He's pretty good. We play war games together. He's very good at them. Well, for someone his age, he's very good at them. I'm getting him there, and he's pretty good at video games too. I mean, he's already beaten several video games, which I had not done by his age. That being said, I didn't have a me to help. If I wanted to get a game done, I had to just pull my bootstraps up and get that shit done. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what it does. That's what it's good at, right? You can never stop the forward momentum of time. All you gotta do is just enjoy the ride there. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, I mean, I've always been into miniatures and stuff like that. I just never really fully advertised it. I've been playing Warhammer since I was probably about 12, I reckon. Not that I really play it anymore. Which, anyone who's interested, there's a video out. It's Why I Don't Support Games Workshop on my channel, so, Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy painting, and playing is nice too. But yeah, painting is the stuff I actually really enjoy. I find it very relaxing, and yeah, steady hands. You get good. Like, kind of like Dark Souls. You just have to get good. It's all practice. I didn't just wake up one day and paint this well. Also, having the right equipment and stuff like that helps. Good brushes, good paint, steady hands. I mean, I still don't even think I'm that good, but, you know, I'm probably better than average, I'd probably say. There we go. The yellow's looking quite nice. I like that now. Yes, for the most part. There have been some exceptions on stream. There's been a couple of miniatures that I haven't printed, but for the most part, 90% of what I print, 90% of what I paint, I print myself. This guy's printed. My next painting comp guy, I've just finished printing. He needs a base coat and everything. Big bastard here. I know I said I wouldn't do another large model, but he's not as large as the bird. And then yeah, I got some Warhammer stuff here that needs some of them need a repaint. You know, this guy is actually probably I'd probably say my second oldest miniature. This guy here. I do want to paint him properly, but I want to give him a really sort of pastel kind of paint color. So, but that guy's not 3D printed. So, but yeah, most of my dudes I paint are 3D printed now. It's cheaper. Like, and also if you fuck a paint job up, you print a new one. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, so no, I just prefer 3D printing. Yeah, I mean, look, some of the miniatures aren't as good a quality as other minis, but at the end of the day, this dude right here, cost me the equivalent of like 30 cents, if that. Like, I'll take that any day of the year, basically. So, you know, they don't look quite as nice as Games Workshop's miniatures, but on the same token, I'm not paying the equivalent of $10 a miniature, basically, which some of them are that. Well, fun fact about that, actor. Fun fact about that, it scales. That's the great thing, is that so, as I said, I've just recently released a video on this on the YouTube channel called Why I Don't Support Games Workshop, and I go through and I price everything. And basically, it's cheaper to buy a 3D printer and print your own Space Marine army than it is to buy a Space Marine army. No joke. I'm actually not joking. That's legit. But yeah, so for most other miniature games, yes, you know. But the big thing is that you can scale, right? So you can be like, oh man, I want to try orcs. So you print some orcs. And then once you have 2,000 points of every army in the game, you've saved a lot of money. But yeah, so it's good fun though. And we use it to print other things. Like here's a here's a jack-o'-lantern that looks like Jack from Nightmare Before Christmas. And that's pretty big, as you can see. It's quite large. I've got the Megazord, which I can't show on stream. I'm going to use him as a Titan or something like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you can use it for a lot of other stuff. So it's cool. It's good. I don't think I'll I don't think I'll probably get another 3D printer unless this one breaks at this point. It just does exactly what I want it to do. So, you sort of just take things as they come. I reckon we need to get that real silvery sort of look. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this. And I'm going to actually sort of paint this blade edge with it. Not with that much paint though, thank you. So that when I highlight it, I'll just get the edges of it. A little bit too much there. So I've got a Pla printer. Resin, if you use a resin printer for printing miniatures, basically you will get damn near perfect miniatures, as in you will have almost no downsides. Pla though is much safer. If you're not going to inhale Pla fumes and drop dead like a couple of weeks later or anything. And you don't have to worry about, with resin, you got to use gloves and everything like that. It's just an extra step. And also, I'm a hypochondriac, which Lady Vamps will confirm. And so, I do have a resin printer. I've never used it. It was a gift from a friend of mine. He got a new resin printer, so he gave me his old one. His resin printer is ridiculous. It's like top of the line. And I thank him for that. If you're watching, you know who you are. Thank you so much for the free resin printer. I do appreciate it. But yeah, I'm terrified of using it because I'm terrified of poisoning myself. Yeah, it's it. Also, the other thing is I found out I'm very sensitive to chemical smells. As in, if something's got a real chemically smell, I smell it and it makes me feel ill. Resin has that effect on me. Resin has this chemically smell that I can't stand. Pla, on the other hand, smells a bit like corn because that's what it's basically made from. And that's the other thing, is that Pla is also a lot more environmentally friendly as well. And as you can see, it still gets pretty good results. I mean, if you saw that on the table, you'd be like, yeah, that looks fine. Pla printing is getting better all the time, which is nice. Yeah. So Pla basically prints from the bottom up, and well, I mean, technically it does the same thing, but it prints them upside down basically. So my printer's right here. It's a good printer, aren't you? Except for when you fail. I don't like it when that happens. Sometimes you'll print things and they won't print quite right, and you might think, oh, that means you just got to tinker with some settings, right? Sometimes you just have to reprint the thing and it'll work. 3D printing is the one thing where doing the same action over and over again is not insanity, because it may work this time. Sometimes you got to reposition a bit, but yeah, sometimes a print will fuck up and I'll be like, that should have worked. I'll try that again and it'll work. So, 3D printing, the joys. But it's much easier than it ever used to be, that being said. Yeah, I mean, I get it, actor. I understand that, man. I know what you're saying. I know what you're putting down. Oh, this is Administrum Grey. Why is this with my silver paints? How dare you, you imposter. I mean, I have been sort of off-stream practicing non-metallic metal, so maybe that's why it's there. It's not ready for on-stream. It's nowhere near that point, so... For those beginners out there, non-metallic metal is using non-metallic paints to paint metallic things. It's a very cool effect. but it's also very, very, very hard to do effectively as well. So it's like the holy grail of paint techniques. I am not that good. I want to be that good. One day, maybe. I have been practicing, but still haven't really seen much in the way of success yet. But, you know, that's the thing with paint. You just practice and practice and practice and practice some more and then practice again and then practice a little bit more. And then hopefully at some point it looks good. Anyway, where was I in my story? I believe we were up to... yes, the demons had just come in. Once again, actor or anyone else, feel free to interrupt me, I don't mind. You know, I remember most of where I am mostly. Yeah, so the demons had just come in. Which means... yeah, so basically I had to sort of go, I'm going to have to reposition, and then... from that reposition, charge into the side of his Khorne Berserkers. The problem is, I didn't want his Bloodletters to charge into my Graveguard because I wasn't sure how they were going to go. Bloodletters are actually pretty tough. I knew I could win because, see, demons get invulnerable saves, which are really hard to counter, but they don't get invulnerable saves against magic. And as I said, my Graveguard only had magic. So what do you do in this situation? My Black Knights were way out of position. They had to wheel around. They were in a reasonably good position, but not to hit the guys at the end of the turn. So what do? I charge my Direwolves in. So they don't do well, but they do well enough that they stick around for a turn. So, yeah, once again, skeletons get a bit butchered. They're not winning the combat, but they're not losing it completely either. So I'm in a decent position. My Graveguard are now positioned correctly, and I could tell that Jake is like, oh no, he's seen the end. It's coming in. Doesn't like it. So, but then he's like, oh no, I mean, you guys got to do well. But once again, as I've said, he's underestimating my army. He hasn't done his research. He doesn't know that Graveguard counters having no magic weapons. He's like, it's alright, you've got to do well. Only your vampire can really do damage. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, he's the only one with magic weapons. And for the most part, this generally is accurate in most armies. There's very few armies that basically, like, there's very few armies that have units that just have magic weapons. There's the elves, they have magic weapons. And there's a couple other units in particular armies. But they're rare. They're not common. And he's like, yeah, magic weapons. And I'm like, all my Graveguards are armed with magic weapons. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, the burial blades, you know, the things that let me one-shot your dudes, they're all magic. And he's like, oh, no. And I'm like, yep. So next turn rolls around, and his Bloodletters win combat. Obvious. Oh no, sorry. His Bloodletters are stuck in combat. All his units are stuck in combat now. So I charge my Graveguard into his Bloodletters. They get to go first because they charged, and they absolutely hack him into pieces. Now the big thing with demons is they have different rules for leadership. Again, sort of like undead, but theirs is if they fail a leadership test, they don't run away. They disappear. They just vanish. They're gone into the ether. So basically I butcher them. They don't do much damage in return. They lose. They are fearless, but they fail their save. They fail their leadership test, and they just go. They're gone. They just vanish into the ether. And see, this is when it all went bad for him. This in particular, because the thing is I still get to consolidate, even though his unit just vanishes into thin air. So I consolidate, reposition my guys, and they're lined up to charge into the side of his Khorne Berserkers next turn. His Khorne Berserkers, once again, now my skeletons are looking really bad. The back skeletons are all dead. Most of the skeletons just barely make up enough to be considered ranked at this point. They have ranks, but it doesn't matter now. Because his turn begins, he can't move anywhere, he's stuck in combat. My Black Knights charge into the rear of his Khorne Berserkers with his hero. My Graveguard charge into the flank. He challenges my Vampire Lord to combat. My Vampire Lord chops him into confetti because I'd specifically built the Vampire Lord to fight Khorne Berserkers. I know, crazy, right? It's almost like I actually put effort into figuring out what I was going to fight. So I basically, I hit him. I think this guy's table ready. I think that's good enough. We'll come back and maybe do a bit more room later at some point. So it's like, so and pretty much I charge in, kill his Chaos Lord. The Graveguard and Black Knights absolutely roll the Khorne Berserkers. They fail their leadership. They flee. There's only one direction they can flee, into their own unit. And I think they technically flee off the table. I can't remember if you flee into your own unit you get destroyed or whatever, but the gap between the table it didn't matter. If his unit got destroyed, it was done. If he ran the distance he rolled, he was done. Like, he ran off the table. So his unit is basically dead anyway. Let's start with this fella, shall we? So I'm just going to come through and I'm just going to put some white on this guy. Just going to get it so that when we speed paint over this, it's just going to look really nice. I've got to reposition the camera. I know that for a fact. Maybe, just wait, give me a second. Maybe if we just do this and then I sort of point it down a bit. The problem is now is that I've got to get that sort of focus. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. So his Khorne Berserkers run in. So I run into the next squad of Khorne Berserkers because I get to consolidate into them. I use my Graveguard, and then once again, my Graveguard just like really put the hurt on the next group of Khorne Berserkers. They're being flanked, and so they lose the combat, and they fail their leadership, and they die. they run off the table. Didn't matter, what direction they went in. They were screwed either way. And that was it. Game was done. I have to admit, I was feeling a bit smug. Not that I was an asshole to Jake, obviously, after the fact. He fought well. And honestly, as I said, probably like 9 times out of 10, he would have won that game. Because he got some unlucky rolls, and I got some lucky rolls. But the biggest thing that I think was the problem with Jake's particular strategy in this in the game was that he underestimated my army. He thought undead were crap because their stat blocks aren't great, basically. He believed that he would just walk in with his Chaos Knights who were fearless, which is the only reason undead were any good, according to him, and that he would just roll them. He did no research on my army. He didn't even ask people what were played. You know, he just walked into this battle. He thought, oh, I'm just going to force him into close combat and I'm going to wreck him. And guess what, guys? That didn't happen. And as I said, like, one of the biggest, I think the big thing is that he treated my army like they were just going to get rolled over. Me, on the other hand, I knew that I was going to have a rough game. I knew that Khorne was going to be a rough army to try and beat. So what did I do? I did research. Yeah, I looked up on what Khorne did, what their goal was, what their main thing was. Now, I will say that I wasn't expecting bloodletters, but I expected everything else that he threw at me. I knew he'd have some Khorne berserkers. I was pretty sure he was going to take some knights. I didn't know about the cultists, I will say, but you know, the cultists, I was not concerned about them. They weren't fearless. They were just basically kind of crappy Empire units. So that's why I say don't underestimate your opponent. Don't underestimate your opponent, guys. That's the biggest takeaway I took from that game was if you're going to be playing a war game, the worst thing you can do is walk into the war game and go, yeah, this will be an easy win. I'm just gonna roll this guy and we're just gonna move on with life. Because that's basically what Jake's attitude was when he walked into the game. This is an easy win for me. I'm not sure if maybe he'd fought vampire counts before, and he was like, yeah, I've fought these guys before. They're not that tough. Or if he just thought that because I was like 10 years younger than him, I was just getting lucky or whatever. The thing is that I always felt like I was quite good at Warhammer, and I hope I don't sound braggadocious when I say this, because that's not the point. I just always have felt like people tend not to make good decisions in Warhammer, or in any war game. I find that many people just walk in and go, oh yeah, look, I'm just going to place my guys right in the middle of this open field and just have them shoot at you. And then they're shocked, absolutely shocked when that unit gets wiped out. And I mean, this is anecdotal. Maybe I've just got a group of people near me that just aren't very good at Warhammer. But I've seen this happen multiple times where people just make really bad tactical decisions. But in this particular scenario, Jake definitely needed to take my army more seriously. If he had played like all he had to do was sort of swap the cultists and the Khorne berserkers around, and I probably would have had a much more difficult time. Because as I said, Graveguards versus cultists was a no-brainer victory for me. Cultists versus skeletons, I think his cultists would have held. What he wanted to do, though, was he wanted to force my... I found out after the fact. His plan was to just roll through my skeletons and then start flanking dudes. My strategy was to use my Black Knights to basically win the game. It turned out it was my Graveguard, but the Black Knights did a lot of work. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to sort of... as I said, he could have, he just research and never underestimate the opponent. That's my two takeaways on strategy. Don't assume that your army is just going to walk through the opponent's army and that's how you're going to win, which is basically what he was doing. He was pretty much, my Khorne Berserkers are just going to walk through Vamps' skeletons and that's it. And just for the record, he was going to, like, those Berserkers were going to win the fight. I'm definitely not arguing that point. They were winning that fight. It was not going to be a close fight. But the thing is I never intended for my skeletons to win that fight. That was the difference. He needed to win the fight. I just wanted my skeletons to hold his Khorne Berserkers for long enough. And with the way undead magic works, that's exactly what they were going to do. Most turns he'd kill like 15 skeletons, and then I'd raise like 10 skeletons back. So, it was a case of 2 steps forward, 1 step back for his guys. One more turn and they were toast. Like, I was definitely wasn't going to hold on for any longer than what I did. But as you know, didn't need to. I just came in and I just got it done. But yeah, Jake was probably the best guy I think I'd fought. Actually, he may have been, like, I'd probably say at that point he definitely was. Actually, I'd probably say that was actually pretty true. I did want to enter, like, a local, but I never got around to it. There were never any Warhammer Fantasy was not as popular as 40k, shockingly, I know. You mean the game that they basically cancelled wasn't as popular as the game they didn't cancel? Yes. So they were locals for 40k, but they weren't really locals for fantasy. And I just I got to the point where I found fantasy much more fulfilling. My Tyranids were also undefeated in 40k, but I just never felt like I tactically made like really big decisions that led to victory. While in fantasy, I'd feel like, oh man, that move where I repositioned my guys and then charged into your flank, that was the thing that won me the game. Whenever I played 40k, I always felt like it was like, the thing that won me the game was me winning that combat. Like me rolling better than you. I am the winner now. Oh, sorry guys, that's a support. That's a little support going on there. Sometimes I miss them, That's alright. Once I slap paint on it, it'll look fine. Also, that area is going to be yellow anyway, so, But yeah, so, that's pretty much that story. And just for the record, just to let you guys know, my vampire counts actually did never lose. I never had one single loss with them. I played 45 games and I won every single one of them. I was very happy with them. And then they shut Warhammer Fantasy down. And basically at that point, that's when I stopped completely playing Warhammer. I wasn't really playing 40k anymore. But I stopped playing Warhammer completely after they shut Fantasy down. But, you know, what do you do? Take things as they come, basically. But yeah, so that I had a lot of fun with Warhammer Fantasy. I basically really only ended up playing my vampire counts by the end. I did have some Empire. I had some other stuff. I think I had Lizardmen, but they are lost to the annuals of time. Those guys, I wouldn't even know where to start looking for those guys. It's the same with the Empire, actually. I know we had them somewhere, but God knows where now. Sorry guys, just getting a bit of concentration going on there. When you're doing like really fine highlights, it's sort of, you know, you just sort of zone in on it. But yeah, so I'm planning on getting a bit more active now. I've got to play a few games of Gaslands just to get some, you know, pictures and a bit of footage for that review. I'm hoping Kid Vamps will help me out with some games. He probably won't make an appearance in the video. You might see his hands or something like that, but overall, yeah, it should be good fun. I'm really looking forward to it, and yeah, as I said, I don't think there'll be too many more I'm not supporting this company videos. I hope so. And you know, nothing would give me more joy. No joke, nothing would give me more joy than to retract that video on Games Workshop. I'd still keep it up, but I would basically put at the start that, you know, this is no longer relevant information. But I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon, sadly. But I can't force Games Workshop to make things cheaper. What I can do is I can recommend war games that actually don't want like every single fucking piece of money you've ever owned. So that's something at least. And also I said this in the video. Oh, I didn't say it. I wrote it. I meant to say this in the video. But if you support Games Workshop and you're like, Vamps, I love Games Workshop, you know, I'm going to continue to support them, and I don't give a shit about your opinion on Games Workshop. Okay. I didn't, you know, I feel like that maybe some people might think that I made the video to, like, go, don't support Games Workshop. Games Workshop is garbage. Don't support them at all. That's not why I made the video, just for the record. It just isn't. That's not the purpose behind the video. The purpose behind the video is to say, this is why I'm not supporting Games Workshop. If you want to support Games Workshop, go nuts. That's your decision, right? I'd never tell anyone how to spend their money or enjoy their time or anything along the lines of that. That's not my intention with the video. My intention with the video is to... make a... basically go, I'm not covering Games Workshop and this is why. But my intention is not to steer people away from Games Workshop. My intention is to go, that's why. Even though I wouldn't be against the idea of that at the moment either. I want people to play other games so that everyone can get into wargaming, right? That's what I want to have happen. I want more people in the hobby. I want people, I want people like Actor. who may not be that interested in the hobby, but goes, hey, wargaming looks kind of cool, and not have to spend a large portion of their life savings affording a fucking Warhammer army. Sorry, I just need to grab, because I'm painting my army all roughly the same, I like to sort of grab a reference miniature out, so I can go, yes, this is what I'm shooting for. Okay, so it looks like I went with a very metal motif here by the looks of it. Did I do that on all the shoes? Yeah, I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna change the shoes slightly. I'll go back and repaint the other ones. Okay. So I did metal. So blue shoulder pads. That would be my phone. That's way too much speed paint on that. That's alright. Doesn't matter if I get the bolts, you know, I can always go over it with regular paint if I get desperate. Okie dokie. Pretty much, if you're wondering, like, yeah, I'm going to be using speed paint a fair bit on these minis. Why is that? It's just going to be much easier to sort of to get the main color on rather than oh, that's not going to be blue. So yeah, it's just easy to get the main color on rather than just doing it like with paint. I don't know. So part of me, for some reason, feels like whenever I use speed paint, I'm cheating. I don't know why. It just does. But I mean, speed paint is very good. It's great. It's very beginner friendly. Because you can just slap chop these bastards. Actually, one thing I really like speed paint for is doing these visors and stuff. It just makes it so much easier. I just realised this one is not the greatest match to go with. Oh, it's okay. Oh, I've never done helmets before. Okay, fair enough. I'm gonna have to figure out how I want to do helmets now. That's all right. I reckon what we'll do is I'll decide a bit later, but I think we might do this top bit yellow and the rest of the helmet blue. But I'll make a decision because I could do metal and then do the rest of the helmet. I do like metal and then do the yellow, or maybe I could do like metal and then have this bottom area blue and the top area yellow. That's a possibility. I'll contemplate that once I've painted the rest of the miniature. I'll sort of, play it by ear. Yeah, that's what I do with most of my miniatures, is I just sort of play them by ear. Okay, so I made them blue, and the boots. I don't actually dislike that, actually. So these parts blue. And then what I think I might do is I might do the actual like boot bit blue. I just need to be able to focus on this bit. Yeah, and then I might do the yellow highlights on the boot section. But I like the fact that this is blue and it's going to be metal. I like that. That's cool. Yep. Okay, then the actual glove bits are blue. Like, is the whole entire glove blue? Oh, that little bit there is metal. I don't like that. I'm gonna change that. I like this bit. Like, make this blue. Yep. And then I like the idea of the glove being yellow. That's cool. Yeah, I think I might make this part blue, but I'm going to make that little dot in the middle, which I've got metal on the other one. I'm going to make that yellow. I think that's just going to sort of bring everything together a little bit more. And once again, we've got the blue going on here. Try not to get the blue on yellow bits, because obviously it's much harder to seep yellow into blue. If worse comes to worse, though, I'll just hit it with some highlight again. But I think I managed to get that pretty well. Yeah. What did I make his sleeves? Did I just do metal for them? Yeah, looks like I did. I don't necessarily dislike that. Honestly, metal sleeves. How do we go with the backpack? Okay, so the backpack's mostly metal, except for these bits. And those parts are yellow. Look at that. Getting it along. Right, the sides, yeah, metal. Yeah, so I did yellow sort of around that and I just left that metal. Maybe I can do like a cool sort of like glow color. That might be an idea. Don't dislike that, actually. I think I might do the metal next. The metal. Because the legend of the painting was way hardcore. Okay. Coming in here, yep. Getting this metal. So as you can see, like, slap chopping is pretty freaking quick. Whoa! suppose you went for a bit of a ride then. I'll have to position that a little bit better. Oh no, that should be fine actually. Yeah. Should have done that area blue too. Yep, so we're just sort of hitting everything up here. Well, as I said, you just gotta take your time, guys. Just just get all that done. No big rush. Cool. This part I think I decided was metal, so get that. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this so far. I'm just gonna metal this section up. Probably actually properly do this back pin. I've just looked at it, I'm like, ugh, this is crap. That's alright, I'll come back later and we'll properly do it. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna fix up a couple. Oh wait, no, the other gun. I was about to say, I'm just gonna fix up a couple of these blue areas that I noticed that just didn't end up working out well. And then what we'll do is I'll come back and sort of just put the extra sort of features on this one. Yeah. Alright. Yeah, just a couple of these blue areas that I've just noticed that just need a bit of a touch up. But that's alright, you know, like this is exactly what these steps are for, is to sort of come around and go, oh, I need to make another run at these sections. Okay, where's me yellow? There it is. Ancient Honey. That's the color yellow speed paint I'm using. All my speed paints are Army Painter because, look, I'm not the biggest fan of Army Painter paints, but dear God, credit where credit's due. Their speed paint is amazing. Little V here. Very nice. And then on this part, should have probably done a little bit more work up here, but you know, that's a future VAMs to worry about. Yeah, definitely should have. That's alright though. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's looking pretty good. I think I wanted to go my next yellow, like my next brighter yellow, but you know, this will be fine. Oh. So yeah, next stream I'll probably be doing my I'll probably end up be doing my painting comp one, unless of course I finish him sometime in the next week. Which in that case, sorry, but I'm thinking what I might do is we might do that we might do that Elder Warlock that I've got from 1990 bloody 4 or something like that. I think that would be fun. I know that some people might sit here and go, well, I thought you said you weren't supporting Warhammer. Well, I'm not getting rid of my Warhammer minis, guys. Like, I mean, I'm just not buying anything new, nor will I review any of their games or anything, but I'm not going to throw out perfectly good miniatures just because I don't like the company very much. And, I mean, I'm not getting rid of my old minis. I'm not buying any new ones. Also, they do look good. Like, Games Workshop do make good minis. It just, they're just overpriced as hell. I think the problem is I think half part of the issue might be detail creep. I think might be a bit of the problem there. If you don't know what detail creep is, basically you take a miniature and you add more and more details to it to try and make it look fancier. But the problem with that is that you just end up with a miniature that just looks like it's got too much shit going on. It takes longer to paint because there's just so much stuff going on. And that's basically like detail creep in a nutshell. And Warhammer tends to have that issue, in my personal opinion. And I think that might be why miniatures just getting more and more expensive, because they're just getting more and more detailed. They're harder to sort of get going. I don't like the helmet. I may come back to the helmet, but it's not terrible. If you can focus, yeah, there we go. I don't like the blue part of the helmet. I don't think. In theory, I think it was a good idea. In practice, no.
Yeah, I think that looks better. I think the visor might need to be a different color. I think it gets a bit washed out, but you know, we'll see. Maybe actually, what if I just take a bit of blue here, and then I just sort of highlight a bit of the helmet, like just sort of around these bits, like just sort of give it a little bit of a. Yeah, no, I'm just not happy with the helmet. I don't know what to really do about it. Maybe if I change the visor color, change it to like a red. Just so it stands out a little bit more. I think because it's so small. What red should I use though? Maybe brick red? I got brick red. I got slaughter red. I feel like I want like a really sort of well, I don't want to go too crazy with the red. Poppy red maybe. Is this bright red? I don't. Maybe poppy red. I think. Let's try that. Yeah, this might be it. I think this may. I think the green was just. What is it? There's just something about, like, just this middle section that I don't like. The red is better. Yeah, that's a bit better. I'm still not 100% happy with it, but I'll leave it for now. I'll come back to it later. I'm definitely coming back to it later, just for the record.
just going to try something here. So first things first, I'm going to get this. I'm just going to sort of really get this like really in there. I'm sort of just going to put a little bit of a highlight, sort of just around here. Really sort of get into that vent, and then I'm going to get a bit more white paint here. And we're gonna hit these areas. I got a plan. I just think this part looks a little plain. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna just white this area completely. And do the other side as well. And try not to make it look like dog shit. That would be preferable. God damn. I'm still practicing on this angle. I think I'm just going to have to sit down one day and just practice like this. There we go. Fix that one up a bit now. Get this one over here a little bit nicer looking. Okay, nice. Alright. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some Caribbean Ocean. And I'm just going to paint these areas. Now I'm going to go reasonably, like, not quite that heavy, but I'm just going to really get this area going and get that bit of sort of glow going on around the outside. Yep, and then we're also going to hit these two areas. And once again, I don't want to go too crazy on this one, but don't want to go too light either. Okay, and then the other one. So do a bit of the around edge, just so it looks like I've got a bit of a glow going on here. So all I want is just a little bit of glow. Yeah, not too shabby. He's not perfect by any means, but you know, he'll do the job. He's table ready. Oh God, man! Sometimes I feel like when I paint, I like get like it just feels like I get nothing done. Like I think the problem is like with me, I tend to be a little bit too. Even when I'm like speed paint, I tend to be like, oh, I've really gotta get this perfect. And part of me just goes, just get the goddamn like paint on the thing so you can so your armies are painted. You can come back and fiddle with them all you like later. I'm just gonna do the base here. Nice little slaughter red. I do eventually come back and I sort of make him look a bit more like Mars, but you know, this will do the job for the time being. I cannot wait until I've finished with these dwarves, to be completely honest. I'm getting a bit dwarved out. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That looks decent. It definitely needs work, but you know, most miniatures when you make them table ready need work. Jeez, I haven't had a drink in like 2 hours. Should probably fix that. do that guy later, actually. Oh. Starting to get a bit sore, guys. Getting old, John. Getting old. I'm gonna start with silver because I think that's sort of a. Did I actually put silver in then? Right. Silver. Because I just think that most of the model sort of ends up being metal. I think I'm just going to do the helmet silver, and we'll just sort of go from there. Oh, what am I doing? I was meant to do highlights on this guy. That's alright. It's an easy fix. I'll just do the highlights now. I think that's part of the problem with sort of how I've sort of come across the slap chop technique. I find that when I dry brush for some reason, and I have no problem with dry brushing. I've done good dry brushing before. I do good dry brushing, but whenever I tend to dry brush for slap chop, it just never seems to sort of take. Like, this should be a lot more white than it actually is, but as I said, it just never seems to sort of take for me. I'm not sure if that's just a failing for me, or I don't know. Alright, no, it's still a bit too wet. It's alright. I'll come back around to that later. Oh. But yeah, so I got a few irons in the fire as far as the channel's concerned, so that should be fun. Few reviews, and yeah, if anyone's got any suggestions out there, like they're like, oh, Vamps, can you review blah blah blah? Yes, as long as it's not Games Workshop affiliated, I'm happy to give a review of something. Because for me, I don't mind if I have to pay for a rulebook. That's fine. Preferably though, if possible, if you can pick a game where the rulebook is free, that would be ideal. But obviously, that might not always be an option, and that's alright. Or at least if there's some basic rules. You know, like Mantic's Firefight has a set of basic rules. Infinity's actually one that I'd like to look into and have a couple games of, but first I'm going to get some Gaslands games going this weekend. It's a long weekend. We'll play some Gaslands, take some photos. And yeah, that should be fun. Also, Gaslands is good fun anyway. I picked that as the first game because it is a rather cheap game to get into. Rulebook and some toy cars, that's about it. So that's always a good price point. Oh, sorry guys. I'm not used to really painting on this angle for long term. So I'm just a little sore. Trying to sort of just make things work. But yeah, so Gaslands I think is going to be fun. I might do one of the Rampant games. I haven't played that in a while. And yeah, as I said, I'm happy to review whatever sort of people suggest. Preferably if I can get the rulebook for free, that's alright. If I can't, you might just have to wait a little bit longer. But I've probably got about maybe 20 war games I own at the moment, so we'll get them done and dusted first, and then go from there. And yeah, paint. I want to do some more paint reviews, so that should be fun. I also would, get some more war stories out there. I reckon I'll probably do Gaslands and a war story, like sometime. Like, I'll get the footage done for it, and then I'll take a video, and then I'll edit the video, and hopefully they'll come out roughly about the same time. I think the thing is at the end of the day, I don't want war stories to like if I release a review, say I try to release a review, say maybe once a month, once every couple of weeks, whatever. I sort of get once I get my workflow going. I don't want the war stories to also like take up that slot. You know what I mean? War stories will be an additional, not an instead of. I think is the point I'm trying to get at. But that being said, they probably won't really be super edited. Maybe I'll put a couple of memes in there, for the memes. But for the most part, I'd say they'll probably end up roughly being about the same as they'll be less edited. Not that my content's super duper edited either. I mean, for the most part, it's pretty stream of consciousness for me. Obviously, I do some editing, but generally the way I make my videos currently is I just I talk it out a lot prior to doing it. Like I'll practice and I'll be like, oh yes, and then I sort of go, oh yeah, that sounded good, or no, that didn't sound quite right. Let's try and rephrase that. And then when the video happens, I just try and do it all in one go. The way I look at it is you if you're passionate enough about something, I find that it's very easy to chat about it. Well, that's me. I'm not sure about other people. Maybe other people are like, oh, well, I find it difficult. I need to have my thoughts written down. And that's fine. With the reviews, I'll probably have sort of like a rough script, kind of like when I run D&D. I have a rough idea on what the hell's going to happen, but it's completely changeable whether or not the things will happen the way they're written. I don't like over preparing for D&D because I feel like players will be like, oh, I'm gonna do this thing that you didn't expect me to do. Oh shit. Particularly if you're playing with new players. Like if you've got a group that you've been playing with for years, generally you can sort of predict what they're gonna do. I had a similar thing happen to me actually when Lady Vamps and I first started playing D&D together. Basically what ended up happening was I was running a game for her and her family, and I'd been used to playing with this group that treated D&D very video game-esque, we'll say. In other words, if it was like, oh, hey, yeah, you've walked into this room and there's 3 doors, they would pick one of the doors, right? Lady Vamps played it more like it was D&D, right? Like, okay, well, if there's 3 doors, I want to make a 4th door by bashing the wall in. I'd written this adventure where you had to basically you had several options to get into this area. And Lady Vamps turned to me and she's like, I want to climb the wall. And I was like, what? Yeah, I want to climb over the wall. And I mean, in hindsight, it's like, yeah, no shit, that's an option, right? But at the time, none of my other players for years had not done anything like that. I tried to get people to sort of do inventive things, but very rarely did it happen. And a lot of the time I had to like drop hints like really severely. Whoa. Bloody hell. Sorry guys. I think what I'll do is I'll try and set this up a bit better. It's a bit hard because my table is rather small and pretty much damn near every square inch of it is taken up at the moment. Like, as in, like, not by crap, I mean, like, you know, paint stand, stuff I actually need, like, not just junk. My god, I cannot get, like, the right amount of paint I want on here. Either don't have enough, or that happens. There we go, that's a bit better. It's alright. We'll come back through and I'll fix them up later. As you can tell, I'm not quite as good as some of the paying YouTubers currently, but my hope is that I'll eventually get there. You know, practicing with all these little bits and bobs and everyone, and then so what'll end up happening is one day I'll be a guy who can be like, look guys, I can paint near golden demon level miniatures. I don't think that's going to be happening, but you know what I mean. But until then, I'm stuck painting. Until then, I'm stuck with my brand of painting. Oh, I should probably also mention, now, I know this might pop up, and I will actually bring this up, I think maybe in the next video or whatever, but I just wanted to make it clear that I'm trying to find the way to put this correctly. I'm only going to take sponsorships that are relevant to the channel. I've actually been offered some. Weirdly enough, you'd think that wouldn't happen, but I have gotten some offers. God knows why. I'm nowhere near big enough to really make any sort of impact on anything at this point, but yeah, so I just want to make it clear for everyone that I will only be taking sponsorships that are relevant to my painting. So, for example, I will take sponsorships. Sorry, just give me 2 seconds, guys. I just really need it. Yeah, I'll only be taking sponsorships that are relevant to the channel. So if a paint brand goes, hey, can you test my new paints out or whatever, that is what I'll do. Miniature ranges, not Games Workshop though. If Games Workshop offered to sponsorship me, like maybe like 5 years down the road, when you know I've got like, I don't know, say like 20,000 subs or something like that, I would actually knock them back, unless they change their ways, of course. But yeah, you won't see anything like Raid Shadow Legends or Hello Fresh or any of that kind of crap. I'm not planning on taking sponsorships like that. Mostly because I'm really not planning to make this my full-time job. I've already got a job. This is just me enjoying painting miniatures and doing all the stuff I like. But yeah, so I'm not planning to make... You won't see, hey, Hello Fresh, blah, blah, blah. If I get to the point where I'm like, okay, well, and sort of look at doing this full time, I'd rather start like a Patreon or a Ko-Fi or something like that, rather than take sponsorships. Unless, of course, as I said, it's for a relevant sponsorship. But you know, that could be ages away. But I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm not planning to take any sponsorships that aren't relevant to miniature painting, basically. So you'll never have to worry about, oh, here's a word from Raid Shadow Legends or whatever. It'll just be, no, unless it's like a painting company or something, you're just going to have to live with no sponsors. I know, probably a heartbreak for many of you listening out there. No, what will I do? How will I find out what brands of pots and pans I need to use? Just Google it. You don't need me to tell you what brand of pot to use, guys. I might also just do a little bit of like edge here, just because last time I thought it looked a little plain. Okay, that's not looking too bad. Don't know why my paintbrush decided to go like super duper thick. Don't understand why, but fuck it. There's not much you can really do about it. I mean, yeah, change paintbrushes. That's what you do about it. How are we going? Yeah. So yeah, basically, depending on how I go with my painting comp miniature, that may be next week. Otherwise, I might do that cheeky little elder dude just to get something on stream. More than likely, he won't take the whole stream though. So what I might end up doing is we'll do the elder guy, and then we might do some more dwarves again. Get some dwarves done. I'm actually very close to finishing. I got these 3 guys, and I've got like a handful of dudes up there, and then that's it. On 2 tanks. Yeah, the 2 tanks, yeah. But I'm actually looking forward to the tanks, because I don't really paint tanks very often. So I'm actually really looking forward to getting those tanks done. I don't really have a problem with the doing of tanks, and we got some cool ones. We got a regular tank. Well, I mean that's not so cool, but it looks good. And then we've got a drill tank, which now that's the cool one. So yeah, we got the sweet ass drill tank, and we've got just some really cool stuff coming up. I might even print off one of the dwarf dreadnoughts, because I'm planning on having a game with them in Mantic's Firefight, and they have like a dreadnought style unit. But you know, what do you do? Kid Vamps and I are still playing rather small games of Mantic's Firefight. They are actually decently long sort of games, which is kind of crazy. Like you'd look at it and go, oh, it's only 1,000 points, right? So that's what, like half a game of Warhammer. No, it really isn't. It's actually they're actually rather big. The games. I also really like the fact that like you have commanders and you've got to protect them. They're not like, oh, look at me, I'm Captain like Dick Kicker and I'm gonna get out and kick everyone's dick. That's not how it works in in Mantic. It's like, I'm a commander. I stand back and tell people what to do. Which I actually really like. I thought I wasn't going to like when I first read it, because I'm like, I like my leaders to run in and murder people. That's what I enjoy about it. But then I ended up really enjoying the fact that your commander is just sort of like, he's almost an extension of you, right? That's sort of the idea behind him. He's just he's no better than sort of a regular guy. As in, slightly better. He's slightly better than a regular guy in close combat or shooting, but realistically, he's not that much better than just a dude who does that in his army, because he's not meant to be. He's meant to use his special abilities to alter the battlefield parameters. He is not meant to stand out in the front line and go, "Come at me, bro." I think the other thing is I was a bit more accepting of that in Mantic, because in Grimdark Future, the commanders are strong, but they're not like, yes, I am the important one in the squad. Everyone else just can die, but as long as I'm alive, your squad is still terrifying. In Grimdark Future, it tends to be a case of, I'm stronger than the average dude, but you still need the average dudes to really sort of put the hurt on people. And as I've sort of played that more, the more I like that as a concept, because I mean, most generals and even commanders and stuff aren't on the front line of their armies like shooting people, right? They generally hang back and give orders. And that's basically what I like about Mantics and Grimdark Future to an extent. Grimdark Future sort of is a bit of the in-between. As in, the leader unit is still a reasonably strong unit. But he's not like, oh, look at me, I'm the Primarch of the Dark Angels and I get like 14 sword attacks, and everyone really just cries deeply when I appear on the battlefield, even though, as far as I understand, he's not that good of a unit, funnily enough, but he'd certainly roll pretty much any unit in Grimdark Future in a one-on-one fight. Because Grimdark Future special characters and commanders just aren't that insane. But yeah, as a, because it's a strategy, right, guys? You cut off the head and the snake will die. That kind of strategy, It's a big thing. Like, many wars and conflicts have been won because they have killed the enemy leader. You kill the enemy leader in a game of Warhammer 40,000 and it's like, oh, that's alright, we'll just get another one. But in most warfare situations, when a leader dies, it's a catastrophic sort of event. Not as much in modern warfare, but still, it's not great in modern warfare. Like, if the commander of the enemy army gets shot in the head, well, generally, you get a replacement will arrive. But in like medieval warfare and stuff like that, no, that was like catastrophic. If you lost your leader, generally your army routed. That's just how it worked. And I think it'd be the same for most warfare, like not so much if the general dies, but if the commander on the battlefield dies, I mean, generally people are going to be like, oh, well, shit, I'm not hanging around now. Trying to think, is there any other blue I need to put on this fella? I don't think so. I forgot to paint the fucking weapons metal. Ugh. I'm always forgetting something, guys. That's alright. You can always paint. Okay. How are we going for time? Pretty close. I'll finish this guy up and then we'll call it a day, I think. I'd love to hang around a bit longer, guys. We don't actually have family board game night tonight. But, you know, I still got some stuff that I gotta get done though. So not a big problem. Did I put Ancient Honey back? That's alright. I mean, I don't think I did. I may have knocked it onto the floor because, you know, when the camera fell down. It's definitely not here. I'm going to try this maize yellow though. I want to see how that works. So, oh no, Ancient Honey's right here. Put it over the other side. Just want to see if this one sort of pops a bit more. I think it does actually. Yeah, definitely the maze for speed painting these guys. I will remember that for the future. Oh, oof. But yeah, so expect to see some photos and stuff of my my guide tonight, which you can find all them on my Instagram, which I'm pretty sure is linked in the in my bio and everything like that in YouTube. So that's a big one. I'm trying to get better at the whole Instagram. Trying to use it a bit more. But I'm not perfect at it, guys. I'm actually oh no, let's be honest here. I'm bad at it. But my hope is that I will be getting better. All I can do is just like painting. Just gotta keep practicing at Instagram till I get good. Just like trying to, you know, make sure I keep this in front of the camera. It's sort of, as I said, it's taken a bit of time to get used to, honestly. It's also a bit, it's a bit uncomfortable, honestly, to paint like this. Oop, I forgot to do his boots properly. That's alright though. Okay. Pretty happy with that so far, actually. Okay, let's have a look here. So I think I'm going to do the red visor again. Yeah, I'm happy. It's starting to look good. I'm going to need to get some more Beowulf blue though, for sure. That's the color. That's the blue color I'm using. Wow, that was way too much in that spot. That's all right though. Shit happens. There we go. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I don't like about these helmets. Oh well. I'll do some experimenting off stream. I think that one's just too dark. I think if I maybe give it some highlights, I might like it. Let's try it. Sorry, I'll need very fine brush control on this one. I just need to, get close to my face on this particular one. I feel like this one needs just a little bit of something under here. I think that's part of the issue. Go to the top like that. Just a second. Yeah. With my broadsword silver. Is it this one over here? Still not happy with it. I don't know what it is. It doesn't look too bad on camera, actually. Maybe I'm just being pedantic. I'll ask Lady Vamps when she gets home. She always tends to be able to be like, it looks fine. You're just being crazy. Sometimes you just need that sort of extra person to go, no, this is not. You're fine. You're overthinking it. Don't be crazy, man. Your miniature looks fine. You're being a bit weird. I have actually gotten a lot better at that, though, I will say. I used to have this thing that if a miniature didn't sort of get exactly the way I wanted it to, I would sort of just sit there and just paint until it became what I envisioned. And sometimes that worked, but a lot of the time what ended up happening is it just ended up looking worse. There you go. Yeah, actually, the helmet doesn't look as bad as I think it does. I'm trying to figure out. I think maybe there just needs to be another layer of highlight in there. That's alright, though. That's fine. Okay, guys. Well, I think that's about it for me for today. I'll paint the camera up. I think that's about it for me today. Looking at double me. Double Vamps. Double trouble. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And basically, I'll be around. You can find me on Instagram. You can join my Discord. I'm not sure if the Discord is up there, but I'll make sure to link it. Mind you, it's not super active, but I'm not against it being active. It's just I tend to only be able to focus on a couple of things at once. Instagram's quite active. YouTube is going to be active, and yeah, if you haven't seen the latest video, it's up right now, right on the channel. Go check it out. It's basically Why Don't Support Games Workshop if you missed that for the first bit. And yeah, that's about it. And then Gaslands is coming up. Hopefully, maybe I'll try and get footage for it this weekend, and maybe by next weekend it might be ready to go. Maybe, but I'd probably shoot for the weekend after on that one. And yeah, I'll probably do a War Story. War Story will probably happen, then Gaslands. But as I said, War Story is like a bonus, so we'll see how we go anyway. Thank you so much, guys. You enjoy your day, and I'll catch you on the next stream.